It's YouTube Wednesday! I'm going to make a Necronomicon style book. One of the first things that I did was I took out the center of the pages. I sell my books, so I ship them. This makes them lighter for shipping, so it costs less to ship. And it also makes a cool hiding spot inside of the book if you wanted to hide something on your bookshelf or whatever. So I think it's kind of neat that the pages are hollowed out. I hollowed it out with a palm router. Palm router looks like this. You don't have to use a palm router, but you certainly can. You could use an X-Acto and just do a section of pages at a time, flip it and do the rest. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I always hollow out my pages. You can't tell the pages are hollow, and I keep my books closed. When you hollow out your pages, it gives you two things. It gives you this paper dust, which I always save, and I use that to make paper mache clay down the road. It also gives you a bunch of little pieces of paper, which I also save and I use for paper mache projects. So there's really no waste when you do that. It's not like you're throwing out the middle. I have my book here. I'm going to turn it to a Necronomicon, and I'm going to use some casting latex and fabric in order to make the face that I want on this book. I have a big bucket of casting latex here, but I'll probably only need about a quart or so for this project. And I am just getting this fabric, which is cheesecloth-like fabric. You know, it's a lot like cheesecloth. I've got a small bucket of it right here. And really, I'm just kind of getting it in my hand and on this fabric. Because when it's wet, I can use this fabric almost like it's clay. And I can put down an eyebrow and smooth that out. And I'll put down another eyebrow here in a bit. Got a little more clay, well, which is fabric and latex. I'm putting it down and I'm smoothing it out. I'm just separating all these pieces that I have of fabric because I got them all wet together, so they're sticking together, which isn't necessarily what I want. So now I'm going to take just kind of one piece at a time and get it good and covered. That'll give me a little more control. Okay, nose is up. I need to let this dry so that I can get on with the next stage. Before it lays down to dry though, I'm just going to take my glove, I'm going to set my glove down and pick it up to get a texture on this latex. I don't want this latex to be smooth. I want there to be texture. I also don't want the graininess of the fabric to really show that much. But pretty happy with that face. So I shut my latex up, let it dry for a while, then I'll come back to it. Face is done. I need to flip it over and do the spine and the back of the book, which is untouched. To protect the face, which now has some latex details that could crush, I'm just gonna kind of bowl up a towel here. And now I have a platform to do my work. Okay. Now, that's set. Let that dry. Turn my fan back on. Back for this in a bit. Probably half an hour, 20 minutes. I'm all dry. My face is not crushed. I'm dry on both sides. I'm not worried about crushing the back because there's just not as much texture there. I want to check the look of the front with some stain, and I'm going to use my Tandy leather saddle tan gel antique. I put a little bit out on the table, and then I need a rag to take it off and a brush to apply it. I like this for latex because it gives a good fleshy look. Okay, and I am liking how that looks, so I'm going to continue to do it. Just making sure that all of this is gotten. And this is a lot of drying. You know, you have to make sure that this sucker dries. So I have to leave it just like this for a while. And I'm gonna let it sit here once I get all these edges done. I have my Necronomicon and it is finished. It is ready for decorating. From Hobby Lobby, in the scrapbooking section, there are these metal corners that go to accentuate pages. I like to put them on the books because they add a metal corner and it's just a nice finish. Easiest way to do it: take a pair of pliers, fit it onto the corner, squeeze it first with your fingers just so it stays on pretty good, and then I crimp it down really well with the pliers. And it automatically adds class and kind of an aged look, because they don't do this to books anymore. So on most of them, I just do these front two corners, but on this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the back of the book also. This is really fast, and it adds a great level of detail. metal corners are on. Also at Hobby Lobby in the jewelry section, I bought some colored wire. And this looks like it's brass, but it's a really thin wire with a plastic coating. It works very well. I can sew with it. I sew a lot of details on my deranged masks with it. And I use a big leather needle. And I just want to sew his eyes up to add one more level of detail on this. The leather needles have a big eye, and I can just put my wire through it and just fold it over. I don't have to tie it off like you do thread. And I'm just going to sew these eyes shut real quick. And it's just forcing the needle through. Back side, grab it with my pliers. It's got an S curve, so you can get it a little bit easier. And I'm going to twist it together. That's why I like wire instead of thread, because the twist adds a little bit of detail also. I'm just going to force this through. And then pick it up with the pliers. That is a finished Necronomicon. It's got sewn eyes. I might go back, I might add a little bit of blood splatter on the book, like it's been in some rough places. I might want to show a little bit of age. You can burn your pages a little bit if you want to. Mine are just aged with some stain and water. You have a bunch of finishing options for this as far as what you want to do. On some of my books, I put clay inside the mouth and etch in runes. You have a bunch of options. Some I put in gem eyes, but it's your book. Make it your own any way that you want.